Hello everyone, and welcome to our Miracle Mindset Push-Ups, lesson number 11, I Need Do Nothing. So today in our lesson, what I'm actually going to be doing is I'm going to be reading from A Course in Miracles. This is the third combined edition. I'm going to be reading from chapter 18, the Passing of the Dream section, or chapter, and the section I'll be reading is I Need Do Nothing. So I'll be reading some of it to you and then kind of giving you my interpretation of it. And this was all inspired from today's Miracle Mind, or this was, from today's energy mantra. And today is Tuesday, September 21st. So if you're interested in looking into how did this come about, you can go to that energy mantra for Tuesday, September 21st. All right. And you can find that at www.facebook.com/simplyintuitive. Simply Intuitive is all one word. So let us jump into this. You still have too much faith in the body as a source of strength. This is what I love about the Course. It just comes out and it just kind of tells it like it is. And it just is telling us that you still believe that you're just a body. That's all that's really saying. You still believe you're just a body. You have yet to realize or remember the truth of who you are. And the truth of who you are is you are a loving thought in the mind of God. That's where your true power, that's where your true strength comes from. It does not come from the body. It comes from the recognition of what you truly are. Okay, so then the Course is going to kind of hit this home for us. And it says, what plans do you make that do not involve its comfort or protection or enjoyment in some way? This makes the body an end and not a means in your interpretation. Okay, so we're going to stop right there because that was a very, very important sentence that actually gives us the key to the whole entire thing. And it's right there. The rest of this section really just kind of reiterates that same premise again and again and again and again. So with that, we still see a body as the end. So as long as the body's happy, everything's great. Instead of using it for what it could be used for. If we allow the spirit to use the body instead of allowing the ego to use the body. When the ego uses the body, it's basically an end. I'm going to get this temporary high, this temporary happiness, so let's say, for example, that the little I, the ego is like, oh man, I really want a cookie. I really want a cookie. Oh man, I need a cookie. And so you go to the cupboard and you eat a cookie and you're like, satisfied for what? A minute, a second, an hour? But we can use, if we allow the spirit to use the body, the spirit uses the body as a means of communication and as a teaching instrument or a teaching device. Now, it doesn't mean you can't get the cookie. Doesn't mean that at all. The Course is not about sacrifice. And actually, there's a section in here called the needless sacrifice. And maybe we'll read that another day. But what it's really just telling us is don't allow the ego to use the body, because when the ego uses the body, it is always used as an end. Okay, I got my brief little high, I got my brief little satisfaction. When we let the spirit use the body, what we're doing is we are allowing the undoing of, what are we allowing the undoing of? We are allowing the undoing of our minds to be done for us and through us. Okay? So then it goes on and it says, and this always means you still find sin attractive. Okay, so for those of you that are not familiar with the Course does use very traditional, like Christian terms, but in very non-traditional ways. And so when it says sin, if we actually look at the word sin means I've missed the mark. Okay, and so if we kind of put this in the context of the Course, it basically just means the attraction or sin attractive. It just means that you still find thinking on your own, thinking with the ego, more attractive than you do thinking with God, thinking with spirit, allowing yourself to be guided. You still like to think that, that You still like to think that you think and think that you know, instead of being willing to let go of what you think and what you think you know. That's all that's really saying, that attraction to sin. You still find it more attractive to do things, to think on your own, instead of allowing the divine to guide you where it is that would bring you the most happiness. And it says, you have thus not met your one responsibility. Atonement is not welcomed by those who prefer pain and destruction. Okay, so first let's look at what is atonement. Atonement is at one-ment. So remembering the truth, which is I am one in the mind of God. And it says then, so atonement is not welcomed by those who prefer pain and destruction. You may be thinking, I don't prefer pain. I don't prefer destruction. Not at all. However, when you still decide on your happiness and what you think is going to bring you happiness, you may be taking a very painful road. You may not mean to. You may have the best intentions, but you may be walking through a bramble bush. You may be walking through barbed wire. You may not even realize it because you're just on that pathway that you think is going to bring you the most happiness, instead of following the divine. And the divine is going to give you a clear-cut path right down a beautiful silk road that's just laden with, beautiful rose petals and smells sweet, and is there to basically guide you and lead you right to where your true happiness is. But when we still try to decide, when we still try to do and make ourselves get somewhere using purely just the body, that's when we get that pain and destruction. So that's what it means by you still prefer pain and destruction. So it's not saying that we're masochists and we're crazy. It's just saying that if you still choose to decide by yourself what you should do and what will bring you happiness, you will inevitably find pain and destruction, because what you're deciding with the ego. The ego is not your friend. The ego does not have your best interest at heart, because the ego wants nothing more. And I know this sounds crazy. I know it sounds insane, but this is what the ego is. It is crazy. It is insane. The ego wants nothing more than for you to die, because it wants its own autonomy. It actually believes that it is separate from you. That's the insanity of it. It believes itself to be separate from you, but yet it still sees itself as you. So, like I said, the ego is insane. The ego is crazy, which is why we don't want to look at insanity and craziness. We want to continue to look at the truth. All right, so we will continue. And so this next section is really just explaining to us that the body in and of itself, it does not exist. Now, I know for a lot of people, this is a big turnoff when they hear this. They're like, the body is real. And the Holy Spirit understands this. The Holy Spirit understands that we still believe that we're just bodies. But it's telling us here, it's kind of helping us to understand that the body in and of itself does not exist in this here, in this now. Okay? What it's telling us instead is that the body is either anticipated, so it's either in the future, or it is remembered here in the past. That's the only place in which the body can really be experienced. It is never experienced in the here and now, because if it was experienced in the here and now, then the body would not exist. We would have these moments of forgetting the body. And the best way I can explain this, or have a personal parable, is with this experience that I had. There was one day, and I'm not telling you this experience to be like, oh my God, Ron's so spiritual. I'm just giving you a context in which we can all try to understand this a little bit more. And that includes myself. And so there was one day, it was not a special day. It wasn't like a full moon or planetary alignment, just a random day. And I just felt like I wanted to start saying what I was grateful for. So I just started, saying the things I was grateful for. And I was just so grateful. And this feeling of gratitude just kept on building and building and building. And I was just sitting in my bed, sitting on my bed, and just being like, I'm so grateful for this person. I'm grateful for this. And that feeling kept on growing. And all of a sudden, normally I can only sit for like 30 minutes and meditate. That's it. And then like my back starts hurting or my legs fall asleep. So 35 minutes is about my limit. And I'm sitting there and I don't feel anything. I don't feel stiff. I don't feel like my back hurts. I feel just like I don't feel anything except for this overwhelming sense of joy. It's all I'm feeling: joy, gratitude, happiness. And then the interesting thing that begins to happen is in my mind, because I'm just closing my eyes saying things I'm grateful for, in my mind, all of a sudden I start to see this beautiful light. And I can't tell you the color because I don't really know what the color was. It was just beautiful. And I started moving towards that light. Okay. And the most wonderful thing, I started getting even happier. But then all of a sudden there was this little voice, and I decided to give that voice a little bit of credence. And it said, you're not supposed to go towards the light. That means you're going to die. And let me tell you, I was like, no, it's fine. And like I heard this very soft voice be like, no, come to me. All is well. Just like so calming, so soothing. And I was like, okay, because I'm like still just in this like, everything's great, everything's wonderful, all is well mode, right? And I'm still moving towards that light. It's getting brighter. And then just that voice screams, you're gonna die. And that was it. I was like, oh. And I was like, I was half in the experience and half out of the experience because I was like, whoa, that was crazy. You know, and I was able to come back into the body, but still not fully and completely because I still didn't really have any feeling in the body. And then I think it took like 5 or 10 minutes. And then I was like, oh, you know, I have to get comfortable. Well, before it didn't matter what I was doing. There was no sense of comfort or discomfort. There was simply just was. Everything just was. So I still came back to the body. And that's actually what this section is going to explain to us, or this particular part. There is one thing you have never done. You have not utterly forgotten the body. It has perhaps faded at times from your sight, but it has not yet completely disappeared. You are not asked, okay, repeat, you are not asked to let this happen for more than an instant. Yet, it is in this instant that the miracle of atonement happens, and which is that at-one-ment. Afterwards, you will see the body again, but never quite the same. And every instant that you spend without awareness of it gives you a different view of it when it returns. And I want to tell you another personal parable about something similar to this. So there was a time that I had a terrible, actually, you know what, we'll go into it. I had a terrible toothache. And it was Memorial Day. And actually it was Sunday, then the next day was Memorial Day. So that means everything was closed. My cheek was gigantic. It was painful. I was taking like 3 Advil, and like putting numbing stuff on it, like Oragel and Dentec to like just get through the day. And I remember walking and I was like, I don't want to be in this pain anymore. I don't want to go through this. There's no reason. And then I remembered in my mind somewhere, I remembered practice forgiveness. And so I started practicing forgiveness, getting to the core root of like my guilt, my shame, blame, and just forgiving as much as I could of, believing that I'm just a body, believing in sickness, believing in illness, believing that. And then I got down to what the core was. And the core was the guilt that I was feeling about not taking the COBRA insurance from, my employer when I left. Like there was just that guilt. And so I created a circumstance in which, okay, look, this is why you're a bad person. This is why you should feel guilty. So I was able to forgive that. And I can tell you, personal experience, my family, it was amazing that the next day after I practiced that forgiveness, now the whole rest of the day, still had to take the Advil, still had to do the Dentec, but the next day, My cheek, totally back to normal. There was still like a little twinge of pain, but nothing too crazy. Went to the dentist on Tuesday, and he was like, oh, you just have a little bit of an infection. And I was like, a little bit? I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. It was like, my face was huge. And he's like, well, you know, it looks like it's over now. And he gave me like, you know, just some super wide band antibiotics. Was like, take this and you're good. So there was still a little bit of guilt there because I still had a little bit of the infection, but just know that that was something that then changed my view of the body, being like, wow, okay, the mind really does heal the body does not heal the mind. So just another way of looking at it, if you'd like. So it says, at no single instant does the body exist at all. It is always remembered or anticipated, but never experienced just now. Only its past and future make it seem real. Time controls it entirely. For sin, once again, thinking without God, is never wholly in the present. And if we really think about that, if we don't think with God, we're thinking, what can I get in the future that's going to make me happy? Or what in the past made me happy? Or what in the past, hurt me? So if we're thinking without God, we're thinking in the future or we're thinking in the past. When we think with God, we're thinking in the here and the now. In any single instant, the attraction of guilt would be experienced as pain and nothing else. So that's why I told that story about my tooth, and would be avoided. It has no attraction now, so in this now moment. Its whole attraction is imaginary and therefore must be thought of in past or future. It is impossible to accept the holy instant without reservation unless, just for an instant, you're willing to see no past or future. You cannot prepare for it without placing it in the future. Release is given you the instant you desire it. Many have spent lifetimes in preparation and have indeed achieved their instance of success. This course does not attempt to teach more than can be learned in time, but it does aim at saving time. All right. So the rest of that section really kind of then dives us into the I need do nothing concept. And so if we really break this down to its core principles, the I need do nothing principle simply is, it's not about what you do in the world, but who you do it with. And what I mean by who do you do it with? Are you going to do it in alignment with the ego, alignment with missing the mark? Or are you going to do it in alignment with the divine, which means it'll be done for you and through you? And another great way that we can begin to look at this concept is consider 5 dominoes all in a row. And spirit being the finger that kind of knocks them over. And the 4th domino is the ego. Okay, so of course, here comes spirit. It knocks over the dominoes, and the 4th domino knocks over the 5th one. And the 4th domino says, "Do you see what I did there? You see that? I did that. You couldn't have had this whole experience without me. I did that. It's all on me. I did this. It's me. I did it. Me, 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 me." And that's what the ego always does. But really, that experience wouldn't have happened without spirit's touch first. The ego says, oh no, it's all on me. I have to do everything. I have to handle everything. I have to handle every problem. I have to handle every situation. I can't ask for guidance. I don't have time to tune in. We always have time because it takes but an instant. What did it say right there? The instant you desire release, it is given to you. The instant. Okay? And so how long is an instant? Well, it's as long as you think that it is. An instant could be now. An instant could be now. That could be an instant. But the instant that you desire it, the instant that you decide that you wish to allow yourself to be used by spirit and have things done for you and through you, that's it. That's when life becomes easy and effortless and flows, because you are not trying to make things happen. You're not trying to push the door of life open. You are allowing the divine, if you will, to hold the door of life open for you and guide you right on through. And so, this doesn't mean that we don't take care of the body either. The Holy Spirit understands that we still believe that we're just a body, but it can use the body, okay? Key. It can use the body if we allow it to help us to undo all of our quote unquote attraction to sin or our misguided thinking. If we will allow it. So, if you, excuse me, if you desire to dance, then instead of being like, I have to practice, okay? Who are we referring to? That little I have to practice. I have to do this every day. It's all on me. We're putting everything on the body, on that little I that believes it is nothing more than this illusionary vessel. Or we can say, you know what? I desire to dance, and Spirit, I want you to guide me through this. Now, it doesn't mean that there's not going to be steps that we need to take, but we're going to be guided, and we're not necessarily the ones taking the steps. Spirit, like we use with that analogy, is moving us with its simple touch, with its finger. Here we go. We're going to move, and some people are like, oh, well, then you're just a marionette doll for the divine. Yeah. You are. You're a marionette doll for the divine. There's nothing wrong with that. You are allowing the divine to lead you towards happiness. It doesn't mean that you don't still get to say, well, I want happiness. You get to experience that happiness as the divine guides you along your path. It's when you start to say, well, I know what's going to make me happy. I know this. I know that. That's when we start to, start missing the mark. That's when we start heading down, maybe we cut those strings and, maybe we have that, we cut the string of our left hand, let's just say, from the divine. The rest of us is over here flowing with the divine, but then this hand, is kind of doing whatever it wants. And so maybe, the divine, puppets you or marionettes you over to pick up a glass of water and, you're about to drink it and here comes this hand, slaps it away. And it's like, what is that about? There's that pain, there's that destruction beginning because there's that part of us that's still like, well, I can make this decision. I can do this by myself. Just remember, allow Spirit to use you. Allow yourself to be used by Spirit. One of the best ways that we can practically begin to apply this is simply by saying, Spirit, you guide me. Use me, move me in all ways today. There's the healer's prayer that's in the course, which is basically, Spirit, guide me, use me, move me in all ways. Or, Spirit, I don't have to know what to do or what to say. Or I believe it is, I am only here to be truly helpful. I don't have to know what to do or what to say because he who sent me will direct me. I will heal as he teaches me how to heal. You could say that before you enter any building, before you go into anything, because what are you doing? You're taking a step back and you're being like, I don't have to figure out. The little I, personality, body, doesn't have to figure out what to say because it'll be told what to say. It'll be told when to say it. It'll be told how to say it and the context in which to say it and the tone in which to say it. All you have to do is show up. Nothing else. Nothing more. And like I said, the ego gets really riled up with that because it's like, no, I'm the leader here. Don't take away my leader. I'm the leader. And we have to really begin to abandon the ego's leadership and begin to pay more and more attention to Spirit leading us and guiding us. And we just take little bite-sized steps. I am not telling you to take giant leaps. I believe in bite-sized baby steps. And you can start by asking Spirit what you should wear, what you should eat. Start super small. Things that aren't, terribly important to you. And then as you start to see how Spirit guides you, maybe you start, which way should I go to work? And, going forward with that and just allowing that guidance. Pretty soon, you're not even going to be asking Spirit. You're just going to be under that direction of Spirit. And if you start to find, things becoming painful or destructive, okay, I'm seeing a lot of pain, I'm seeing destruction, I'm beginning to start to look into the future and look into the past. I can be assured that I've cut my strings and I want to reattach them because I want ease, I want effortless, and I want flow. So I hope that brings clarity for today. And I thank you for joining me. I thank you for being here. And I will see you all in our next installment.